Hello, I'm currently stuck in a hotel in Sydney, but I have a gift for you. This is a sit-down chat that I had with Larry Foiler. If you don't know who Larry Foiler is, go check out his YouTube and his Instagram. He's sponsored by a bunch of brands. First and foremost, he's father of two beautiful girls and a husband to his lovely wife, and I met his family. It was so nice. And he took the time to sit down and have a chat with me. So big thanks to Shannon. First and foremost, if you don't know who Shannon is, you should definitely watch this. But we discuss all things foils and future and winging and downwinding, all the cool stuff. So please enjoy my conversation with Larry Foiler. Oi!
We're on?
We are on.
Epic.
What do you want to be called, Shannon or Larry? What do you want to go by?
Jesus. That's like the hardest question.
Shazza?
Because I get that too.
You get Shazza?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we'll stick with Shazza.
I get like, yeah, man, I got like 1,000 nicknames. There's so many people that just call me Larry and don't actually know I have a real name.
Yeah.
So, like, I honestly don't mind.
I don't know how I figured out that you actually weren't called Larry. I think it might have been on your website.
I assumed that everyone would know that it's not my real name, but it's the opposite.
I think the last name's the obvious bit, but the first name you just don't know.
Oh man, I get it all the time. I've had it this week.
Yeah.
It's like foiling up at Noosa, I have people come up to me and, hey Larry.
So you're getting recognised?
A little bit.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, you're that YouTube dude. I'm like,
Yeah.
Sometimes I am. Yeah, I get some funny stuff.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I don't mind. Like, yeah, people can call me whatever they want. I got mates that I know back home where we live only from foiling, and they still only think my name's Larry, which is totally cool. And when they'll speak to my wife or something at the beach and she'll call me Shannon, they'll be like, who's that? Who are you talking about? And then the conversation comes about like, what's your name?
Yeah.
So that's all right.
Well, we'll be Larry for this one,
All right.
because we'll stick on brand and then we can tie it into LF Supply. So.
Perfect.
So yeah, by introduction, you are Shannon, but known as Larry,
Yeah.
and you are the owner and operator of LF Supply.
Yeah.
You are sponsored by Axis,
Yep.
PPC,
Yeah.
Sunova.
Yep.
Anybody else?
RS Pro.
RS Pro.
They do my deck grips.
Oh, awesome.
They make amazing cork deck grips.
There you go.
I'm a little bit of a hippie, so anything that's eco.
Super cool looking ones. That
Yep,
you
yep.
got, the tan colour.
Yeah, they're really good. Yeah, I love those. I bought my first set years ago, and yeah, they've been nice enough to hook me up with those.
That's awesome.
They're good.
Anybody else we missed?
The foil shop in Perth, or in Fremantle in WA, they've been big helps to me. So
Stuff like
definitely got a shout out to the foil shop.
that. There you go.
Yeah.
So you've got a healthy supply of gear, which is awesome.
Yeah, I do.
And you were
Yeah.
telling me you've got 26 something.
I'm not counting. I've stopped counting. Yeah, I've got a lot of Axis wings going right back to almost the first generation of wings, and a few little prototypes snuck in there, and just cool things that I get to try out. So pretty lucky to have good support.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, straight up, you've had a YouTube hiatus. It would seem a little break.
I probably have.
Yeah.
Not without. It's not intentional. Yeah, I think it all sort of, been travelling with my family on the road now since April, so we're quite a few months into that. Yeah, the YouTube thing comes and goes. Like, I love to, I don't want to it's funny. I've never really been one to put myself out there as like any sort of expert. Yeah. So I loved doing like the YouTube reviews of videos just as like the average old dude trying to foil. Yeah. And then that sort of snowballed into people like demanding certain things and certain information about things and wanting like a definitive answer, and that's very hard to give in foiling. So it's like, I only ever give things from my experience and how things work for me, and I enjoyed just doing the YouTube thing. And a reason for that is like, I've got a background in film and photography. It's what I've always done. So I love creating content. I actually enjoy it. For me, it's a creative outlet. Like my job in the real world is documenting other people's lives. I've done that in the past. I've made kiteboarding films with people where it's always been about creating content for other people. And I kind of got to that point where, when foiling started, I'm like, I want to start making content for myself. And having that experience and know-how and equipment ready to go, it just happened naturally, where you just start making stuff and it's fun.
Well, and I remember getting into foiling and your channel stuck out like dog balls.
Yeah.
Because of the production value.
Yep.
and the the quality of your color correction and the cameras you were using, and I really appreciated that at the beginning.
Yep.
And I just consumed, like, I'm a fan, and I consumed so much of your YouTube channel when I got into foiling. I think I watched every video pretty well.
Oh man, I'm my own worst enemy in that regard, where my wife calls me a perfectionist with that stuff, where I'll make a 5-minute clip but I'll spend 6 months making it, and I'm like, it's just not worth it. Like, people are like, oh, you must be doing so good on YouTube. I'm like, yeah, I make about 1 cent an hour. Like, you don't make money off it, and it's a lot of work. It's fun, but I don't know, like, that's my thing as well. Like, it's really hard to sustain good content on the regular, because it's a lot of work. And if I make something, I want it to be nice. Like, I don't really like just whipping something up real dodgy and fast.
And you would have seen that across YouTube there's a lot of just GoPro videos, and kudos to those people. Like,
if it's interesting content, it's awesome. And that's another thing as well. Like, you can put so much time and effort into making something like top quality, but people just want an interesting story, and I need to hold myself back sometimes at over producing my own videos, because it's just, sometimes it's just not worth the time and effort. People just want to see something interesting, and it doesn't matter what it's filmed on. But anyway, it's still fun. Sometimes I just feel like I want to make a cool vid, and I want to shoot some nice stuff, and that's why the YouTube's come about. And sometimes I feel Axis especially is so good to me with the equipment. It's a nice way to show it to other people,
because people are chasing that.
Absolutely. People want to see it, like, in the hand, and they want to see an average person using it before they go and throw out serious money. So I'm lucky enough to get the gear, I get to try it out, and at least give my impression of it based on my level of experience, whatever that is. And it's hopefully from there, that's like a reference point for people to make their decisions.
And as someone who has a background in a bit of production stuff, I remember seeing, I think it was your Black Series video, and you had the full set. I saw you had lights, and I was like, man, I know what you went to in the background to get that. And I'm assuming your wife was helping you a little bit record.
She helps it with heaps of it. 100%. It could be a full day production just to get like a couple of minutes worth of footage, and sometimes you'll just go to all that effort and it won't even work. I remember that one though. I filmed that inside our garage at home, and I had to black it all out, and then I had to get the lights out. And then, like, when you start shooting like that, you're seeing fingerprints on all the wings, and you got to go and clean it, and it's like, what am I doing this for? But it looks cool. So
I appreciated it. So.
I reckon that was back when the Black Series first came out, and I actually did a video on a black Amos board that I had as well, and I shot it the same way because this board was all black. It looks so cool. I'm like, I want to like show off its lines, and that was like ages ago when foil boards were still like evolving in their shape. And I remember this Amos that I had custom made was kind of radical in its shape, and no one was doing weird shape boards at that point.
Is that like a teardrop?
Yeah. So I was like, it looked sick. So it was gloss black, this board. It was so cool. So I shot that the same way, put it in the dark, and then lit it up all strangely, and the video came out cool. And then I remember that would be work really good for the Axis Black Series. So I did the same thing, and it was good.
You pretty much turned me into a bit of a, because I'm an Axis fanboy by a fair long shot. I actually bought the ART 1099 because of that video, because I was like umming and ahhing. And then I saw your video, and obviously you're a lot lighter than me probably.
I'm a featherweight.
Probably 30 kilos I got on you. But I still remember watching that. I was like, oh, endless glide, right? That's what I want.
For sure.
And that thing is my daily driver. Like, for sure.
Don't tell anyone, but if I wasn't sponsored by Axis, I'd still be paying for Axis. And that was like my first, actually, when I got hooked up with Axis back in the early days, I bought 2 setups straight away. And I just said, like, I committed to them from then, like, because at that point I was riding a different brand, and when I demoed my first ever Axis gear, it was on a remote beach in the north of WA. One of the local shops had some demo stuff. And actually, the first wing I rode from Axis was the 102, which is massive, right? It's like way too big for me. And the guy Jason, who has a shop in WA, I said, have you got any Axis gear I can demo? He goes, yeah, I do, but it's a sub wing. It's no good for you. And back then, there weren't many prone foilers in WA. This was going back like 4 years ago. And he goes, it's just a sub wing, it's too big, it's not going to be any good. So I was like, just let me try it, mate. And I took this 102 out, and first wave, I got 3 consecutive waves for the first time in my life. I'd ever done the full wraparound length. I'd got doubles before, but this was triples easily. And I remember going straight into the car park after that wave, and I said, order me this, and then the smaller version. And I just straight up threw down and bought double setup right there because it was like, that changed the game for me. That's what I wanted. I wanted like the endless pump.
Well, that's why I love it, because I know that every year they're going to be bringing out something new. Like same as you, I want to get my hands on a 1310. Because I think the Dock Start ultra light wind winging, that thing is just a game changer.
Oh, it's so crazy. Like the Dock Start thing's been fun. It was a bit of a novelty for me. It kind of like, we're so spoilt for waves where we live. So Dock Starting sort of comes secondary or even third, because you got waves, you got winging. And Dock Starting, you do it when you get super bored, but now it's actually becoming a thing where it's like, it's a sport in itself. And I want to start doing more of it now, especially seeing some of these European guys that are pumping forever. I'm like, get me back out there. So I have my name. I'm about 200th in line from what I last heard to get myself on a pump and glide 1310, but I'm happy to wait. They're definitely worth waiting for. I want to get that and do some more of that, because the behind the scenes work that goes on with Axis, it's like a never ending quest to just make high performance foils. And some people, if I don't really get negative feedback on my videos, which is awesome, but the only time I ever get negative feedback, people sometimes get a bit frustrated that Axis has too many options. Which
I don't understand.
I don't either. Well, I try and and that's another reason why I keep doing the videos, because every wing that is made has a purpose, and it's for someone, and those wings only come about is because people ask for them. So there'll be like a series of 3 or 4 wings, and then there's always going to be someone that wants one in the middle. So they'll make it. And they're literally making something to cater for everybody and every discipline of foiling. And always in that search of like faster pump, longer glide, faster top speeds, better performance and efficiency. It's like a brand. They're out there just like wanting to get better, and the sport's evolving so fast. It's definitely hard to keep up, but it's exciting, I reckon.
I think when you start, you think you only need one front wing. And I think I had made that mistake when I first started. I'll just I can have a 12-meter kite, and I know that'll serve me 90% of the time. But you start to realise it's a game of millimeters. And I ride the 799 as my tow wing, which is just all time. And then I got the advanced fuse for all my surfing. And I've got the standard. I've obviously got the red fuse for pump. It's like, before I know it, I've got 4 wings, and I still want more.
It's a healthy. Like, people blow money on way worse things.
Do you think mountain biking, like one bike is $5,000?
Exactly.
Well, that's a full quiver.
Definitely.
So.
It's a healthy lifestyle. It keeps you fit. It keeps you out there in nature. And I tell people you don't need all the wings. Definitely need some of them.
2 at least.
2 to 3 is sweet. And you know, like you said, I've got, sitting at home, I might have 20 front wings sitting there, but it always comes down to 1 or 2 favourites. Now the Axis 799, I can use that. I use it for prone, and I can use it for winging. That's an epic wing. I could do the same with the 899. The 899 would be a great all-rounder for me. I've been riding the 899 all this week prone.
You get good pump out of the 899 at your weight.
Oh, for sure.
Because I can just pump the 899. I can link probably 2 waves. A lot of energy used though. At my weight, 95 kilos. But can just do it. But then you see Jeremy Wilmot, Ocean Pictures, absolutely just charging on it. So it's skill for sure.
When I got the arts, I got all 4 sent to me, and I looked at them. First thing I did, I threw the 799 aside. I'm like, that thing's tiny, maybe behind the ski one day, or really powered up winging. And Adrian's like, no, that's going to be your go-to prone wing. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's so small. No. So I went straight to the 999 and the 1099. I was really interested in those massive ones because I wanted to see how well they pumped. So I tried the 999 and the 1099 first, and blown away by the pump. Then I sized down to the 999, the 899, sorry, and that was a good prone wing. And I just kept remembering Adrian saying to me, that 799 is going to be your go-to. I'm like, well, that guy's always bang on the money, so let's just try it out. I said, I'll try it prone, I won't be able to pump it. And I took it out, and sure enough, you can pump it. And
because is that video with you pumping out with the drone chasing you? I was like,
799.
friggin' rocket ship.
And honestly, that was at the start of this trip around Australia, back on the west of WA. Glassy conditions, and that was probably the first time I tried the 799, and I was lucky enough to have my wife on drone command. And it wasn't until I went back and watched that footage when I realised how fast I was going and how far out I went. But I did that about 4 times in that session. Because the waves were super inconsistent, but they came. So you'd get a chip in and you'd pump for the horizon, and if you go long enough, a wave would come. And that to go back, watch that footage, and then realise I was doing it on the 799, I was like, holy crap, this is the smallest wing. It's like only, 750 something square centimetres. It's so small. But, it's all about the span, the width of the wing.
I think there'll be a shift in the way people think about wings is rather the time on foil rather than time, like distance travelled.
Yep.
It's like I can cover as much ground on my 999 as I can with somebody on a bigger wing, but I'll do it quicker. Sure. So I might use a lot of energy, but I'm going to get there faster, and I'll look better when I hit the wave that I'm coming into.
They're so fast, and that speed's addictive. Like, depending where we surf, if we have really small, kind of weak waves, sometimes I'll go back to the BSC series, which are epic for prone, even the HPS.
Just pocket surfing.
Pocket surfing, and you're staying and matching the speed of the wave.
Yep.
But the speed glide of the art series is super addictive. Yeah, and I love just that hyper pump where you're like super shallow, super fast, like a squid, and you're just pumping as fast as you can. Like that, to me, is where it's at.
I remember coming, I won't mention the brand, from another brand, got straight onto the 1099, and I remember thinking like, oh, this is how pumping's supposed to feel.
Yep.
And even people have said to me like, oh, did it unlock pumping for you? And I actually attribute it to that wing.
Yep.
It gave me the right cadence, it gave me the right feel, and I'm 95 kilos and it's only 1,000 square meters.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's actually small.
That's small. I learned on a 1,200 square centimeter wing that I couldn't pump.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, it's almost like half that size, and you can pump them. It's just the technology's going so quick.
Yep.
So been loving the art series, and all the I'm sure there's more coming.
Yeah.
There's rumours of a 699. I don't know about it. That'll be
toe wing.
Toe wing for sure. But it's exciting. They just keep coming out with cool stuff. The rear wings is another huge step.
200 or something?
I'm on a 300. I think there's a 275 that I know of.
There's a baby one that I keep hearing about.
Yep. Every time I size down on a rear wing, I kind of expect to lose a lot of pump, and I don't. Like it's really crazy. You can still pump the tiny wings, and they loosen things up so much.
You can just feel the pivot.
Yeah, you can slide the tail. I think they've really nailed the rear wings now, which is awesome. It's just dialing it into the specific conditions on any day now. There's really something, I reckon in the ultimate quiver you have 2 to 3 front wings, 2 rear wings, and you're covered. It's unreal.
So pivot to LF Supplier, which is your brand.
Yep.
Obviously stands for Larry Foiler Supplier, I'm assuming.
Yeah, pretty original, real creative in the name.
Just let me indulge you for a second and sell your product, because I think, here's my rationale. If somebody was ever hesitate to spend just over $100 on a bag, if you make the mistake I did and don't buy a bag and you scratch the shit out of your board, when you go to sell it, you've lost at least $200-300 in value. So 100%. It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. You got to look after these things.
Yeah.
Foil boards aren't cheap.
And you will change board, especially when you're starting out.
Yeah, definitely. I've always had it, like as a surfer, you always have keep a board in a board bag. Like there's no way. And there's a bit of a story as to how the whole brand came around.
This is what I was going to ask.
Do you want to do it?
Go for it.
So this trip that we're doing right now, driving around Australia with the family for 8 months, originally was supposed to be a US trip a year and a half ago. So myself and my wife and my 2 lovely little girls had a trip to America booked. We were going to drive around the States. We were going to go to Hawaii. It was going to be this big road trip across the States. And I was 100% taking my foil gear. And I'm like, how do I get all my gear on a plane and then in a motorhome and across America and back without it getting trashed? I've got, all these wings, all these boards. I need a travel bag that I can put like 2 boards in and all my wings. So I went about designing it and I sketched it up. I drew up this. I already had it in my mind. I knew what the ultimate foil board travel bag would look like. It was in my head. So all I needed to do was draw it up, and I was going to just get one made for me for that trip. So I drew it up and I went to some bag manufacturers in Australia and canvas places, and I wanted just to get one bag made for me for my trip. And it was going to cost me like $500 to get a one-off bag made in Australia. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get one for this trip. And then it got to the point where the bag manufacturers in Australia, I thought, well, I've designed this cool product. Maybe I'll do a little mini run and hook up some of the boys, and surely I'll be able to sell 5 more. So I thought, let's just do a small run and sell a few to some people.
Just to pay for yours, pretty much.
Pretty much to pay for mine. And I looked at bag manufacturers in Australia. None of them wanted a bar of me. One bag manufacturer said to me, look, the only way you can get the price down is if you do a huge run. I'm like, cool, whatever. I just want it to be Australian made. oh no, we can't do a big run in Australia. We don't have the facilities. We'll get it done in China or somewhere. I was like, oh, okay. So that led me to just being like, well, I've designed a product. I'm going to go to manufacturer, and I found a manufacturer that would do it in a big enough quantity to make it sort of worthwhile. The shipping on these big bulky bags is not great. The shipping actually cost me more than the manufacturer itself. So it's really hard. But anyway, I found manufacturers now that want to do it. And it's been awesome. I went to production first with my travel bag. Got samples made. It came out amazing. Fully functional for exactly how I want it, especially for a modular system like Axis. It does fit perfectly. And then obviously once I started that, people are like, are you going to make bigger bags? You're going to make smaller bags? You're going to make this or that? You're going to put wheels on? So I went into some basic prone bags. I'm like, all right, I got this $300 travel bag. Not everyone wants that. Some people just want a basic coffin bag that fits your bloody foil board in. Because
Back of the ute.
yeah, you can't. It's back of the ute thing, man. Like I'd rock up back home in Margaret River. My mates would come to the beach at the back of the ute with a foil board just bouncing around in the back of it, and I'm just like, I was like hyperventilating, looking at these guys pull their boards out. They're just getting smashed. So did some really nice real super basic sock style bags to cover boards, and then something in between, with a bit more padding and coffin style and zippers and stuff. So now we've got the full range, and it's going awesome.
And you got the merch as well.
We've got some merch, got hats.
Wearing the hat now.
Yeah, wearing the hat now. I might have one for you in the car. I had a big batch, and I gave all the Noosa boys pillaged all of my merch the other day. We're in the car park talking foiling, and the merch got talked about, and it all came out, and they grabbed it. So the Noosa boys sucked me dry. So when I get to the Gold Coast, the lads down there are going to miss out, unfortunately. But I think I got a hat left in the car for you. But that's cool, yeah. And it's just fun. For me, it's not my real job. It's not my main income. It's pure passion. I wanted to have a product just that foilers would love.
You found a niche for sure.
It's a total tiny little niche market, and that's all I care about. I just want foilers to be able to have that product.
And they're really attractive bags too.
They're nice. Thank you. Yeah, I try to keep them simple, plain. I don't want crazy bright wild colours. They're made out of recycled materials, so every bag's made out of roughly 80 recycled plastic bottles, which I thought was cool. That was a deal breaker for me. If I was going to get these done on mass, I wanted it to be sort of eco-friendly as much as possible. All the manufacturers tried to talk me out of it. They're like, oh, it's way cheaper to use this material. I'm like, no, it has to be recycled. So that was cool. Yep. And yeah, it's going good. It's fun. It's just a fun thing.
And so you're reinvesting most of your profits
all of it just goes straight back into it. Yep. So I had the initial investment to get it off the ground, and then from there on we've just put that into mostly newer products or bigger orders. I think we've got about 13 different bags now when you look at the different sizes and variations, and then I've got a few more that are half designed for new stuff as well. So there's always new.
Some amazing riders now on the books.
I've got some great riders around the place that are helping us out just to promote the product. I'm flicking them gear, and they've been enjoying the product, so that's really cool.
I see it popping up on Instagram all the time.
Yeah, it's really cool. Just trying to, I sort of feel like I'm still in that stage where I want different riders from different disciplines out there still using the gear to test the functionality, and I want to get rider feedback, and they've been really good. I've been getting good feedback on what might need to change for next time, or what works and what doesn't. I don't want really any gimmicky stuff. I just want it to work. I don't want it to stand out like a big ugly sports bag. I want it just to work for foiling. Board shapes and sizes is the hurdle. They're changing so often, and there are so many. It's really hard to keep everyone happy. But at this stage, we're sort of doing a pretty good job of that. I think. I don't know. The one thing is people want do you make a 6-foot bag or a 7-foot bag for my sup? I'm like, dude, you just need to buy a smaller board.
Because I've just gone into downwinding, and every time I put my board in, I'm like, oh, that nose. Oh, jeez, because I'm like...
Coming. The downwind bags are coming.
Oh, you've heard it here first, people. You've heard it here first.
I think you might have heard it here first. The downwind bags are coming.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, good segue. Have you been dabbling with downwinding?
Not really. Where I live in the southwest of WA, we have really rocky headlandy coast, and we get pretty good wind. It's just super sketchy. If it goes pear-shaped, there's a lot of places where there's no safe place to come in.
It's a wild part of Australia.
Very wild down there, and there are some places in the world that are really conducive to downwinding. In Perth, for example, amazing wind, no surf in summer, straight long sandy beaches. Epic downwind conditions. I reckon if I lived in Perth still, I'd be downwinding heaps more than I do. I downwind with my wing sometimes, like where we'll just go out, we'll tack upwind for a few Ks and just ride the lumps back. But I like to be self-sufficient with my foiling. So I don't like to organise a lift at the other end and someone have to take me back to my car and all of that. I just like to go down the beach and get out there. And luckily where I live, it's uncrowded. There's always waves. In summer, there's always wind. Really spoiled. I love where downwinding is going. It looks like now with, prone downwinding and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's starting to become more of a thing.
What was it, the AWSI?
Yeah. There was some crazy stuff going on over there at Hood River, and that's got my ears pricked up. So I think when I wrap up this trip and head back to Western Australia in January, that's going to be right in the middle of our windy season. So some things might be happening. More downwinding and stuff like that, I think. But we just got perfect wind conditions. We got like perfect surf and wind on it. Like I just want to stay in the surf zone.
Well, and that's I wouldn't be bothering with downwinding unless if I live where you live, because you can go out, you can do downwinding, and you can jump, and you can do freestyle. Like you can do it all in one session.
You can do it all in one session, literally. Like we've got where we wing most of the time, it's like a lagoon off the beach. So you're going off a sandy beach into a flat water lagoon for about 300 or 400 meters, and then behind the lagoon you've got like perfect waves, and then behind the waves you've got downwind lumps. So you start the session in the lagoon and you do a few tacks upwind in the lagoon. You might do a few little flat water jumps and some fun stuff, or you suss out your new wing that you've just put on and practice a few jibes and tacks in the shallow water. It's just nice. Then you just venture out like an extra 50 meters, you're in the waves, and you've got shoulder to head high waves that peel for a few hundred meters that are like perfect wind angle. So, and with the foil now and winging, you can you ride the wave to the end and then one tack and you're straight back to the take off, and then you're probably sharing it with 3 or 4 other wingers.
This is so fun.
It's the funnest thing. But then so you'll catch a few waves in the zone, and that's super fun. And then you might want to do some downwinding, and we'll spend 20 minutes tacking upwind. You go a couple of Ks upwind, and then you'll downwind all the way back to the surf spot again. And then you'll finish off with a few more waves, and you'll go back inside the lagoon. You'll finish off with some jumps in the flat water, and you bug it, and you go home. And it's like, you do that every day in summer. It's the best setup. And now that we've travelled Australia on this trip, it's sort of reminding me how lucky we are back home with the conditions that we have.
And for anyone, because we might have US people watching, it's like Perth is pretty much, really the WA is our Hood River. Yeah. It's as good as it gets.
Yeah, I think Perth is the second windiest city in the world.
Other than Tasmania.
Yeah, I think Chicago might be technically the windiest city in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Perth's second windiest.
Yeah.
But our sea breezes coincide with summer. So warm weather, hot, sunny, and just pure clean wind. Fremantle Doctor. They call it. It
goes really hot.
Yeah, it comes. Well, I think it comes in and cools down the people on the beach. They call it the Doctor. Because you're sitting in the beach in summer, and almost like clockwork, by about lunchtime, sometimes on the good days it'll come in like a bit earlier, and it's just bang, hits you in the face, and it's on.
Whereas this is our sea breeze.
Yeah, your sea breeze has got me a bit rattled. 12 knots. I need 15 to go winging on my 26 litre board or whatever I've got, and my 3 metre wing. So I need a bit more wind than you guys are giving me. So I've been frustrated this last couple of weeks.
Which is why I've got the giant 1300.
That's what I need.
The beast wing.
Yep.
Which is good fun. But it's also because I probably mainly prone.
Yep.
Because we, like this morning it was incredible. We get incredible conditions sometimes.
Yep.
But the wind is. Let the rescue chopper go by. I used to be a paramedic.
Oh, did you?
And I was going to get onto the helicopters, but life took a twist and now I'm a wedding singer. a.k.a. YouTuber.
How good though? That's the best ever.
Do you realise, and you obviously experienced it being in Noosa, it's fun being in this you're a micro celebrity? Do you realise that?
No.
Yeah, well you are.
I don't know. I find that.
It's awesome.
It's weird. I reckon it's cool. I put it down more to the foiling community being super friendly, and especially with social media, and it allows everyone to connect, and it's a growing sport, and we're all trying to learn. So
and it's hard.
Yeah, and we all connect online because we learn from each other, and then you develop friendships through that. And for me, that's the best. I did a trip with a family about 3 years ago to the Gold Coast and northern New South Wales, and I connected with about 15 people that I was only friends with on social media. Never met them in real life, never spoke to them on the phone, and we all caught up like we'd known each other for years. And you just go ride together, hang out together, you go out for lunch, you go out for dinner, you stay at their house, they offer you a place to stay. And no other sport's like that. Foiling brings people together amazingly, and I think that's more to do with it. So when I go to the beach and I'm sitting out in the water and someone comes up to me, you're Larry. Like, I'm like, I recognise people too. And it's just from social media. Like a good mate Mark now from Noosa, who I met 3 years ago when I came over here. I paddled out at Noosa spit on my own, foiling, never been there before in my life. And then one other guy paddled out and he's a foiler, and I knew him because I followed him on Instagram, and he knew me. We'd never met before, but it's like we knew each other. You shake hands, you exchange real names, and then you ride together for a week and you have the sickest time. And I've caught up with him this time. So.
And it's funny because it's in such contrast to surfing, and I've surfed for years, and if you don't have the dog eat dog attitude surfing, you won't catch any waves. 100%. Whereas prone, it's the absolute.
It's a total opposite. Every wave's a party wave. The more foilers in the lineup, the better. You're all squealing like little girls out there, having the time of your lives. You're not doing little secret missions trying to find uncrowded waves.
Find the worst wave you can, really.
You just want all the B and C grade waves, and geez, it's so much fun. Like that's one thing I love about it. Like, especially where I moved to the southwest of WA, like Margaret River area is pretty well known for its surf. And for the first couple of years that I lived there, I was managing to get pretty good waves surfing, regular surfing. And then, as you get older, you kind of can't be bothered with that whole dog eat dog thing. And everyone down there now has the same idea. Everyone works whenever they want, so they've all got days off during the week. So there's no such thing as an uncrowded lineup anymore.
Thanks to COVID.
Yep, and then you just go, so foiling, you can go and surf those C-grade waves that no one cares about, and you grab like 4 foil mates, you go out there, you party wave everything, and you just have the sickest time, and 40 minutes, you're done, you go home. Like, there's nothing like it. It's the best thing ever.
And like when we don't, like if we had snow, it'd, well, we don't really have snow. It's hard. It's pretty hard packed snow. But I'm just like, foiling has opened up this feeling that you can experience, which is surfing powder.
Yeah, for sure. It's just so smooth and efficient. It actually makes it quite weird riding a regular surfboard again.
I can't.
It feels so draggy.
I got on and I'm just like doing these ones.
Like sitting in a canoe.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It's very strange.
And it feels so slow.
Yeah, it feels really slow. I still like to go longboarding occasionally with my kids because they're surfing, but having said that, they're also starting to foil now. But I still surf from time to time, just really only just so I don't totally forget. Like, I've mostly forgotten, but to get on a longboard every now and then and just go for a cruise is still really fun. So I'll still be doing that a little bit.
I don't want to keep you much longer because your family's hanging around. And then, just to finish off, because you talked about your daughters getting into it, to me, there's one thing that I would love to see, like, somehow, how do we get more groms into it? Because it can be cost prohibitive for young kids. Sure. What are you excited to see kids doing? Because obviously we got the 23-minute now pump. We've got kids doing jumps that are like...
Foiling's an old man sport, and these kids can wait a while.
The average age is 40.
Well, yeah, well, there you go. I'm pushing that now. I'm couple past that right now.
Years to go.
Yeah, and I reckon, like, kids just pick stuff up so easy.
They'll get too good too quick.
They get too good too quick. Like, I reckon the best thing about foiling, this is what I reckon, if I was an 18-year-old grom surfer now and I was surfing, I'd stick to what you love. Just keep foiling in the back of your mind for when you just want to go for a cruise one day. Foiling's there as an option. My kids foil. My kids have been foiling since I'm about 8 years old, and they picked it up really quick and easy. But luckily, I've got that so much gear. I can set myself up with a board. I can set my kids up with a board each, and we can all paddle out together, and I can stay with them. My thing was when they started, I thought they were going to get hurt. I'm like, because I ate at learning. I hurt myself heaps. Yeah, you're landing on the wing. I'm like, I couldn't bear to see my kids land on the wing. Yeah. But my little girls are so tenacious, and like, they just wanted to do it, and they begged me to the point where it annoyed me. And I was just like, just freaking do it then. Go hurt yourself. And they just went out, prone, foiled, on their own, no pushing in or, and they just did it, like straight away on their own. I'm like, wow, like, I don't know, some reason they just can pick things up. Yeah. It is cost prohibitive for a lot of young kids, I reckon, but it is what it is.
And it's one of those things. I always compare it to mountain biking, because mountain biking, people don't realise, only 25 years ago, it was underground. Yeah, it was a tiny sport. Yeah. And I feel like we're in those days. Yeah, like, this sport has just started. Yeah. And every year it just gets so much better. Yeah. And it's like, well, parents are happily spending, $4,000 on a bike for their kids, and it'll come. Yeah. So I'm excited.
I reckon it's cool. It's just, I think it's like the unknown, and this is how I got into foiling. I was like watching Kai Lenny videos on Instagram until I'll drive my wife nuts because I'm sitting on my phone. I'm like, well, check this out. Like, far out, look at this. You just got 7 waves. And then she just said to me, stop watching that crap and just freaking buy one. So, all right, green light. And I just went online and I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know what I was buying. Bought my first ever Nash setup online because we had no shops over there selling foil gear at that time. I just bought gear, whatever, I'm going to learn it. And you're like freaking out because you like throw down like $2,500 and you don't even know if you're going to be able to do it.
And the first experience is usually pretty difficult.
Oh, it's so difficult.
It's
like, you do the hard
a lot of profanity.
Yeah, a lot of swearing and a lot of hurting yourself and going home frustrated, sore. But you know, like I'm pretty motivated, and when I start something, I always finish it. So I knew I would get it eventually. So I was like, I'm just going to invest in this thing, and I want to get in it in day one. Like this sport at that time was brand new. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I want to be there from the start.
What, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
About 4.5 for me. Yep. So yeah, it's really early. And I didn't even have a foil board. I just bought one of those adhesive foil mounts and put it on one of my surfboards, and I learned how to foil.
That's amazing.
Yep, and it all came together.
Yeah.
And when it clicks, it clicks.
Yeah.
It's the best thing. That's the only thing I think holding back new people to the sport is the initial cost, and the unknown of am I even going to be able to do it?
Yeah. It's amazing how quickly people actually learn it.
Yeah.
Once they figure out that front foot thing, like
it's
just
not as hard as it looks.
no, it's just reverse to anything you've probably done before.
Exactly, and I reckon the hardest thing is the actual surfers, because surfers are so back-footed, and they think, like, you see a surfer get up, you tell them behind a jet ski or something, and the first thing you want to do is lean back and throw a carve, and they're just off.
And then same with their paddle.
Yeah.
You're trying to paddle into the same spot.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to unlearn all of that and start fresh, and I think that's cool because it evens out the playing field.
Yeah.
So it humbles the best surfers.
Yeah, I still remember watching Oscar. Oh, he goes by Oscar Foil now on YouTube.
Yep.
And I went out the next day and bought a foil board.
Yeah,
when I
so
saw him, that 6-minute video, I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Shittest waves, and he was just having the best time.
Totally.
All the surfers are just sitting there watching.
Yeah,
It's like, why would you not do this?
We have friends back at home that have held off for years on foiling, and like they watch us do it, and they're like, nah, maybe one day. And they always get to the point where they're like, all right, talk to me more about this foil thing. And you convert them, and then once they never look back. I've got guys that have been in their 50s and 60s back home that have surfed their whole life, and they're like, I'm never going to surf again. I'm just a foiler now. It's so sick seeing people of that age frothing like a kid again, like grommet. Like you get that first surf, first wave feeling again that you haven't had in your whole life. And you're riding parts of the ocean that no one else goes to.
And it never leaves.
It never leaves. It's the best thing.
And you just change your setup a little bit, and it's like, you got to adjust that session, you know, and that's a new challenge every time. Like,
the micro like disciplines within foiling are just, there's more and more. Like it used to just be foiling and downwinding and then winging and supping, and there's just so many aspects to it. They're all individual sports in their own.
There's something for every set of conditions. Like you got dock starting through to downwinding in 35 knots.
There's
like,
so much going on.
Oh,
It's cool. I like to sort of dabble in all of it. It's bloody fun. It does. Yeah, it's hard, but hey, what else is there to do? Yeah, absolutely. It's all fun though.
Hey, thanks for your time.
No worries,
mate.
I've
Shannon,
enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
a.k.a. Larry Foiler.
Yep.
I'll put links for your LF supply
Thank you.
because I love this stuff.
That's just larryfoiler.com.
LarryFoiler.com and
Yeah.
all the sponsors. Put them on there
Yeah.
too. 'Cause I happen to ride Sunova.
Yep.
I ride Access. I don't ride PPC, but there's somebody here locally that does. But
Yep. Oh, they've all been awesome. They all just they just want people to have fun on the water. That's the core of all those brands. They just want people to have a sick time, and that's one thing I've noticed for them. They've all, and for me, being a rider for all of those brands, it's never been about me being the best or the most performance or pushing limits. It's always just been about spreading that enthusiasm at the grassroots level, like being down the beach and talking to a complete stranger about this sport that they might be a bit worried about. You know, people like see something new and they're like unsure about it. Yeah, they're scared, and I can talk to someone on the beach or in the lineup and explain it to them in a way where they're like, oh wow, that's pretty cool, and the next minute they're down the shop buying the gear. So it's really just more about just like connecting with people on that level.
which is awesome.
And
you always see, I love, and this is part of my sort of my love of Access. You see Adrian, and he's always in the comments.
Oh, he's there.
Facebook.
Yep,
I'm like,
100%.
This guy could be doing so many other things, but he's
Yeah.
in the community.
Oh, he's so passionate about it. That guy. He's like the Yoda of foiling.
I'm always teasing him. I'm like, hey, where's that sponsorship coming?
Yeah, mate. He's he likes to do a lot of his work behind the scenes, but he's always there to, you know, answer questions and just the development of the sport. Like, there's no one else out there that's like so passionate about that. So yeah, I often get caught on the phone with him for ages, and it'll be a simple question like, can I please have something? And he'll call me and he'll be like, you don't need that, but maybe you should try this. And have you heard about this that we're doing? And no. Do you want me to explain it? Okay. And I just get the full scientific breakdown of stuff. I get off the phone and I remember about a quarter of it, and then I'm like, man, I should have recorded that phone call because he had some gold in there. Like, and he'll tell me stuff like that, and I need to call him back. So, can you explain that again to me? Like, his knowledge on like the finer things that most people don't even like put thought into is wild. And so I love a bit of a phone chat with Adrian, but I know it'll never be anything shorter than an hour. So
he's on my interview list for sure.
Oh, if you can get him on, it'd be gold.
I got Casey coming up next.
Yep.
So I've just joined Casey Coach Club.
Oh, cool.
And then he realised that I ran this YouTube channel.
Yep.
And he was like, oh, sweet, I'll jump on it.
That's unreal.
So, because that's by the Downwinding wing.
Yep.
So,
Oh, he's the man for that. Jim will definitely get you sorted out.
Yeah, I'm super keen to talk to him. So,
Yep.
mate,
Epic.
champion. Enjoy the
Anytime.
rest of your trip.
Thank you so much.
And that's it. I don't know how to end this.
Just turn it off.